everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 29th. We started with our math. So if you want to get out your math book and turn to page 81. 81. We have been working on tally charts, frequency charts, picture graphs, and now bar graphs, and now we are going to practice creating bar graphs. So right away, I don't even want to read the question. I want to turn my tally chart into a frequency chart, as in write the numbers next to your tallies. So soccer, we have 12, basketball 4, baseball 14, and football 9. And it is our favorite team sports. So we have soccer, basketball, baseball, football. All right, so Jordan took a survey of his classmates' favorite team sports. He recorded the results in the table at the right. So we already knew that, right? We knew it was sports. And we knew that they voted because we have tally marks. How can he show the results in a bar graph? So now we're going to create a bar graph. We are always going to start with writing after we create, if it's a picture graph, you write numbers. Tally chart, write numbers. The second thing is we're going to write the title. It's the same title. So you are going to write favorite team sport. Then we need to label the side of the graph to tell about the bars. Then we're going to label the bottom of the graph to explain what the numbers tell. So the side is our telling about the bars, which is our category. This category is sport. Usually, like we did candy, or when I am tongue-tied today. When I surveyed you last week, I had you vote on your favorite candy. So if we were doing that chart, the category would be candy. But this category is sport. So on the side, you are going to write sport. Then you are going to just write these same sports in order. Soccer, basketball, baseball, football. Then you are going to write number of what? This is specifically, he surveyed people, so we asked them to vote. So with this graph, it is votes. This will change. Your category and what the numbers are will change, but you'll always have number of and then whatever it is. Then we need to choose numbers for the bottom of our graph. It tells us on this problem. So since the least number is 4, that is the smallest number, and the greatest number is 14, we're going to make the scale 0 to 16. So you're going to make it just a little above your largest number. It tells you to make the scale by 2, but in other questions, you're going to have to figure it out. So what we could do is think, if we have 4, 12, 14, 9, if we skip count by 2s, we will say all these numbers except for 9. But that's okay. If there's only one number you won't say, then that is a good number to skip count by. You always start at 0, and we're just skip counting 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Ignore the 13, 14, 16. On the side, I wrote scale equals 2. And that's also what we're skip counting by. And we are writing our numbers 0 to 16. Last, we have to draw and shade a bar to show the number of each sport. So soccer, we have 12. So I'm going to find 12. I follow it up till I reach soccer, and I usually make a darker line, and then I make my bar and fill it in. Basketball is 4. When we go to the bottom, I hit 4. I follow my finger up till I get to it's across basketball. I make that line a little darker so I don't go beyond, and I shade it in. Baseball is 14. I'm going to go along the bottom till I see 14. I'm going to follow up my line until I'm next to baseball, make that line nice and dark, create my bar, fill it in, and then football's our tricky one. Football is 9. What two numbers is 9 in between? 9 is in between 8 and 10. So that is why here, even though we did not write 9, 9 is still in between 8 and 10, no matter what. That doesn't change. So that is why we go in between them. I kind of go up. So I'm across from football, make my dark line, and I create my bar. The reason I have 13 is another student had a question. And I said, okay, well, what if football was 13? 13 is in between 12 and 14. So I just wrote 13 to show them that 13, no matter what, will always be in between these two numbers. And then I kind of drew a line. But that was just to show them what to do. If you want to try 82, that'd be fabulous. Go ahead and try some of it. Pause. Again, when we have a picture graph, I like to label my picture graphs, but I want to decide what turn my pictures into numbers so it's easier. My title is School Walkathon. So I'm like, okay, I know what a school walkathon is. I'm sure Sam, Matt, Ben, and Erica did the walkathon. My key is each t-shirt is 2 miles. So I'm thinking, okay, it's wanting it figured out how many miles these students walked. 1 shirt equals 2 miles. Then that means half a shirt is equal to 1 because half of 2 is 1. What I'm doing is skip counting by 2s when I see a t-shirt though. So Sam, we skip count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So he walked 10 miles. Matt, 2, 4. Oh, but there's half a shirt, so we add 1. So we do 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. So 2, 4 plus 1 is 5. Ben, 2. Erica, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now we can read our question. Matt's school is having a walkathon to raise money for the school library. Matt made a picture graph to show the number of miles some students walked. Make a bar graph of Matt's data. Data is numbers. Use a scale from 0 to 10. And I kind of wanted to change that. Made a beautiful oops. We want it 0 to 12. Because we always want to make it, here, can't really see that, great, a little greater than our greatest number. Our greatest number is 10. Excuse me. So making 12 the highest number on our graph works really well. And we're going to mark the scale by 2. The reason we did that, these are our numbers. We wrote them down. All of these numbers, when you skip count, you say 2, except for 5. But remember, if there's just one number that you don't say, that's okay. We will figure it out and we will still mark it on the graph. So now we need to label School Walkathon. Our title is the same. I want to talk I want you to think to yourself, what are we going to label our categories? What's our category going to be? Yes, these are children, but we don't want to write children. They're at school. So when you're at school, you're called a student. So we want to write students as our category, and we write our students, the students' names. Some students ask, why didn't we put the names over here? Well, we have 4 students, and there are 4 lines provided. Over here, there's way more than 4 lines. So it would not make sense to write their names on here because we would still have a lot of extra. Then we remember when I said you'll always have number of, and then we need to decide what the last word is. The last problem, we were looking at votes. This time, our key is miles. So we are looking at number of miles. And we already decided we're going to skip count by 2s, always starting at 0. So 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Sam, we know, has 10, walk 10 miles. So we go to 10, put a dark line, that helps me, and then I fill in my bar. Matt had 5. That's where the tricky one is. We don't have 5 on here, but 5 is in between 4 and 6. Here's the line for 4, here's the line for 6. So we want to go in the middle, go over, draw our dark line, and fill in our bar. Ben is 2. We go to 2, we go all the way over, we draw our dark line, we fill it in. Erica is 8. So we go to 8, all the way over, fill in our dark line, and then fill in our bar graph. Number 1, which student walked the most miles? Think, which student's bar is the tallest? Sam's is definitely the tallest, and we know he walked the most because 10 was our greatest number. Number 2, how many more miles would Matt have to walk to equal the number of miles Erica walked? There's no math verbs in here. Technically, yes, there is more, but I did not teach when it says how many more, you do subtract, but I didn't go over it too much. So we just did circle the key numbers. We have Matt and Erica. We wrote down Matt 5 miles, Erica 8 miles. So how I showed them is if we go to Matt, here's Erica. How many more miles does he need to walk to reach Erica? Well, we know half is 1, right? So if we jump to here, that's jumping from 5 to 6, that's 1 mile. 6 to 7, 7's in the middle, 2 miles. 7 to 8, 3 miles. Or you can just subtract. 8 subtract 5 is 3. So he would need to walk 3 more miles to equal the same as Erica. Number 3, how many miles did the students walk? Remember, that's one of my favorite questions. We've worked on questions that have asked how many students were surveyed. Well, this is how many miles did they walk? So we just write down all the miles. So we have 10, 5, 8, and 2, which equals 25. So 25 total miles all the students walked. Number 4, write the number of miles the students walked in order from greatest to least. So you need to pay attention to that. This is something we're going to do in the future. The greatest number goes first, and then you go all the way down until you're at the least. So 10 is the greatest, then it goes 8, then 5, and then 2 is the least number. All right, if you want to pause and try number 83, I gave students time. You don't need to read the question. I want you to turn your tally chart into the bar graph, and that's what I want you to do. All right, so when we have our tally chart, spinner results. So we are looking at spins. You want to first turn all your tallies into numbers. So when they spun, it landed on red 16 times, yellow 8 times, blue 12 times, and green 10 times. So we are going to, well, let me show you how we reached that first, okay? I kind of went a little backwards, and sometimes that's okay. Whatever works the problem. We wrote our title down, spinner results. Our category is color. So remember, our categories that are the line underneath what we surveyed is your category. So colors, and then you write them. Remember our number of, but we're not doing number of miles anymore. We're doing number of spins because it's our spinners. We're using a spinner, so spins. Now this is the tricky part, is we need to figure out the scale. If our numbers are 8, 10, 12, and 16. Some students said, well, let's skip count by 2s. Let's use our scale of 2. Well, if you start at 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh my gosh, we don't have enough space for 2. It can't be 2. Let's try 3. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Well, remember when I said when you skip count, if there's about 1, maybe 2, but let's stick to 1 for now, that you don't say when you skip count. I don't want you to use it. So if we do 3, 6, 9, we skipped over 9. 3, 6, 9, 12, we skipped over 10. 15, 18. So if we count by 3s, 12s is the only thing we'd say. And so we don't want to use it. Now let's go to 4. 4, 8, there we go. 12, 16. Perfect. We say 3 of the numbers. And then you are going to make it to 20 because we want to just put it, you want to add one more scale, I guess you could say, from your greatest number. So that's why and you start at 0. So 0, 4, 8, 12, 16. And then I skip counted another 4 to 20. For red, we had 16 spins. So go to 16, color it in. Yellow, we had 8 spins. So go to 8, go across, color it in. Blue, we had 12 spins. So you could see I lightly went all the way across so I wouldn't lose track. Draw my line, fill it in. And then green was our 10. What is 10 in between? 8 and 12, right? Because we have 8, 9, 10, 11, and then we have 12. So if you need to just put it in between 8 and 12. So that's what we did, and we colored it in. Then we moved on to homework. Your homework is 84A, all of them. 84B, all of them. And you need to fill in the bar graph, answer the questions. Number 4 says, how did you know how high to draw the bar for pancakes? Literally write out, how did you find the number for pancakes? And just a reminder, this is a frequency table. It's called a frequency table. All right, and then we've done a problem like this before, and then you are going to do the back. I then showed the students the Friday video from last Friday because I wasn't here for Flag Salute, so we watched that. That took up a few minutes. We went to Walk to Learn. Then when we came back, I had them pull out their week 6 brain check. So they were supposed to do questions 3 and 4 for homework. You are already going to see the answers, so let's go over it. Question 3. What happens after Cat 2 brags to the 2 men? So we're looking for an event that happens after the bragging, but before Lago runs into Cat 2's house. So what we did is we went back to the story. We need to find, I want you to always go back in the story, never guess. I need to find where he brags to the 2 men, okay? Because it's going to happen after that. So I'm reading. So I already read all this. There's no bragging to 2 men. It says he brags, but not to his 2 men. Oh, there it goes. Cat 2 began bragging about his house to the 2 men standing nearby. So whatever happens is going to be after this. But it needs to be before Lago runs into the house. So now I'm going to find, where does he run into the house? Oh, my eye just spotted it. Then Lago ran into the house as hard as he could. The house swayed and collapsed into a heap of logs. So the event happened somewhere in here. So let's see. You see, my friend, said Cat 2, how wonderful my house will be. There will be no other houses like it in the village. My house will be the best house in the village. Okay, so he's still bragging. He continues bragging about Lago's strength and his house to the 2 other men, still bragging. But there was something about the powerful elephant that Cat 2 did not know. Lago understood every word that Cat 2 said. The elephant did not like what he heard. Lago decided that he had heard enough. Cat 2 was still bragging when one of the men interrupted him. The man pointed over Cat 2's shoulder. What is it? Cat 2 asked angrily. Can't you see I am busy? Cat 2 tried to ignore the man, but the man kept pointing. Cat 2 finally turned around and stopped talking. Lago was coming straight at him. The 2 men quickly scrambled out of the way. Cat 2 was too afraid to move. Lago seized Cat 2 with his trunk and lifted him high in the air. All right. Oh, and then the elephant held Cat 2 over his new house. Okay, then he ran into the house. So let's look at our options. I'll start from the bottom. Lago piles the heavy logs on top of each other to build the house. That did not happen in between these 2 events. Cat 2's house collapses into a heap of logs. That happens after he runs in the house, so it's not in between these 2 events. Cat 2 promises to never brag again. That happens at the very end of the story. And then Lago holds Cat 2 over the house. Well, that's what he does. Lago holds Cat 2 up and then he runs into the house. Number 4, we need to put the events in order. So, first thing, Lago runs into Katu's house, causing it to fall. That happens at the end of the story. It won't be first. Katu wants to build the biggest house in the village. That is found. I went back in the text. That is found in the beginning. One day, he decided to build a new house with the tallest logs he can find. All right. So he wanted a new house. So we know that is number 1. Okay. So let's think about number 2. Katu brags about the house and Lago's strength. Lago does not like hearing Katu's bragging. Katu hires a man who owns the strongest elephant in the village. Well, all 3 of these talk about Lago. But he doesn't have the elephant yet. And this one, it says, okay, then he got the elephant, which is Lago. So this has to happen next. Then we know Katu starts bragging. We already read that, right? Well, and I proved in the text. So he wanted a new house. He hired a man who owned the strongest elephant. Then he began bragging. So began bragging is our number 3. Katu brags about the house and Lago's strength. Well, we then know that Lago, the reason why he rammed into Katu's house was he didn't like his bragging. So that's where it says right here. The elephant did not like what he heard. Lago decided that he had heard enough. Katu was still bragging. So we know that was upsetting Lago. So that is number 4. And then last, we know that he runs into Katu's house and it falls down. All right, for homework, it was those 2 math sheets. I was wanting to start the new vocabulary, but we didn't have time, and I don't like giving homework on assignments I didn't start in class. So use today for math, read 30 minutes, work on your science, and then finish any work because pickups are now Thursday. So any work that you did not do last week or the beginning of this week, go ahead and work on it. All right, that is it. Bye, guys.